Elijah here. I'm doing my second video of the 30-day trans challenge. I got home a little bit earlier for work than I normally do, and so to be able to just sit back and relax, I decided to do my video now versus like midnight, hoping that maybe I'll get more views or get more responses, especially from people on Facebook. Most of the people that I know on Facebook live on the East Coast, so by the time I post, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning there, and nobody's really surfing Facebook looking for my videos. So I figured by posting a little bit earlier, I'll increase people knowing that I'm doing these. So today's topic is actually something that I was excited about doing, and the question is, how did you choose your name, and what names were you thinking about using, and why? I'd done something that I actually hadn't heard of anybody else doing. I'm pretty sure somebody else thought of it, but with my mom being as supportive as she is and as amazing as she is, I decided to keep kind of the tradition of parents picking the names for their children going by asking her to help me pick the name. I'd originally left it completely up to her and said, I want you to have full decision of what my name's going to be. And she was kind of like, oh. She's like, well, you're old enough now that I don't want to name you something that you absolutely hate. So she said, how about instead, I really appreciate you doing that, but how about instead we talk about the names. You give me a list, I'll look over them, make sure that they're names that you like, and out of the names that you give me, I'll choose from those. So it's like, okay. So span of a couple of days, I picked out a bunch of names and sent them to her. And the names that I actually picked, which is kind of funny in a way because Elijah's not in this list. It wasn't until later on, but I'll go into that here in a couple of minutes. But I had originally decided, because my first two names was Lindsay Renee. And Renee being both a male and female name, and Lindsay actually technically being a male and female name, I was thinking I'm just going to keep my middle name of Renee. So most of the names that I picked, the reasons why I picked them is because I like the way that they sounded, not so much because of the meaning. But I felt like as long as it went together well, then it would be a cool name. So again, most of these I, at that point, had planned on keeping Renee as my middle name. So the first name was Braxton, spelled Braxton. I'd seen this name before, and I thought it was kind of cool. I like the spelling of it. Its meaning was Broxtown, so didn't have any like deep meaning or anything, but I just felt like Braxton Renee sounded good. So that was the first name that I sent to her, and if I recall, she did like that one. And the next name was Brighton, which means the one who is loved. Again, it was just another name that was unique. I felt Brighton Renee sounded kind of cool together. I believe she liked that one also. There were only a few that she didn't like, so I'll just list off the ones that she didn't like when I get to them. The next name was Camden, which means from the Winding Valley. I like this name, not because of the town in New Jersey or anything. I remember I heard the name a long time ago, not like a long time ago, but like 2 years ago, and I just really liked the way that it sounded. And again, it was unique. Next was Caden, which means spirit of battle, and it's actually Gaelic, so I thought that was kind of cool. Not that I'm Irish or Gaelic or anything. I'm actually German, but I also like the name and spelling of it. It was spelled Cayden. Next was actually one of my mom's favorite names, which was Dakota, which is Native American for friend. My mom's always been really big into Native American history and stuff, so Dakota was a name that she really liked. Next was Dalton, which means Valley Farm, and I had a friend growing up, not a close friend or anything, but a kid that I knew, whose name was Dalton, and I just always liked the way that name sounded, and kind of like that gentle feeling that came along with it. Next was Dimitri, which was actually a name my mom really liked too. But again, it's one of those names that's a little bit harder for, I'm not meaning to get all racial or anything, but for a pasty white person to pull off. Unfortunately, it didn't really resonate with me. It didn't really look like me. And after thinking about it, I was like, I don't know if that name would work very well. But again, this is one of my mom's favorite names, so we still kept it in the running. Next was Ezra, which is Ezra, and it means helper or salvation. I thought I also had heard of a kid named Ezra in high school, and it just seemed like a very unique sounding name, not one that I hear very much, and it had that kind of like that European feel to it. Next was Gavin, which means white hawk, and again, just a name that I liked. Next was Jason, spelled Jayson, which means God saves, which, not being religious, a lot of these with meanings of God or praise or salvation or things like that, my mom was a little bit more hesitant. It actually, I guess, turned her off to the name. Like, she didn't like it as much. Not because she hates religious people, but just, being named for religious reasons is something different than, just picking out a name. So having that kind of like that background to it, she felt like it would imply something, I guess. I don't know. Next was Kipper, which is German. The meaning actually is a pointed hill. I really liked Kipper. I think she absolutely hated that one. The next little group was actually trying to stick with the L, kind of like I had in Lindsay. And the first one was Landon, which I really liked. My mom liked too. And that was actually probably the closest that we had gotten to the name besides the one that I actually picked. Next was Lane, which I liked. There was a kid my brother used to play baseball with. I think his name was Lane. And I just thought that was a cool sounding name. Next was Levin, which again went along with the Lindsay L kind of thing. Next is Liam, which was my second run in the top for my name, because again I had that L, that same kind of roll to it. Next is actually Lyndon, which amazingly means lives by the linden tree, and Lindsay means linden tree near the water. So I felt like Lyndon was the closest to Lindsay that I could get. In shortening, that was actually still a name, and I liked it. But after saying it a bunch of times, I thought it just sounded kind of weird. Next is Malachi, which has always been one of my favorite names. Next is Micah, Mika, which I felt like I loved that name, but after really thinking about it, I couldn't really see myself being a Micah. Next was Peyton, Paeton. I like the unique spelling of it, and again I thought it rolled well with my middle name. And last was Zayden, which again was one of those names that I hadn't heard really before, but I thought it was a unique sounding name. So again, a lot of the names that I picked for the whole fact that it was something I had never really heard before that I felt would be unique. But I kind of ignored the true kind of like, I guess, process I should have been going through, which was that this is going to be the name probably for the rest of my life, and it should be something that I really like. And so I pitched the name Elijah because it's always been a name that meant something to me, and kind of have my own reasons with it why I really like that name. But after thinking about it, I was like, I actually really like the name Elijah. So it took a little bit of persuading, kind of like pitching that name with the name that my mom really liked and kind of working it into the possible names when we got it down to like the top 3. And finally I was like, I think I know what name I'm going to pick. And she was like, oh, okay, what name? And I told her Elijah, and she was like, oh, I like that. So I feel, that it worked well. It was going to be Elijah Renee. And then insert my last name there. But after thinking about it a little bit more, and I was talking to my mom about it when she came to visit, she was very close to her dad growing up. It was her adopted father, so he kind of stepped up as a dad, so he meant a lot to her. And so I kind of wanted to have my name, part of my name, kind of in remembrance of him. The only problem with that is his name was Robert, and my dad's name is Robert, and my dad's name was Robert. So there's a lot of Roberts in the family, so I felt like naming myself Robert would be giving, like a, I don't know, like a remembrance to all the Roberts in the family when some of them, I feel, I don't know, I shouldn't go into that because that's more of a deep topic. But I still wanted to remember my grandfather, though I never met him, just because he meant so much to my mom. So we were sitting there, and I said, well, what was his middle name? And she's like, oh, his middle name was August. I was like, I absolutely love that name. So I decided that my middle name, when I change it, is going to be August. So it's going to be Elijah August, and then my last name. So that was really how I picked got my name. And so far, the people that I tell it to, they like it. They think it sounds good. They like the ring of it. They see me as an Elijah. My roommates, at least one of them who really knows about it, has been calling me by it. My mom now has been calling me by it. My brother has been calling me by it. I think my sister has, but I don't talk to her as much, so I'm not really quite sure. But mostly everybody's been calling me by it, so, and I really like the ring of it, which is, it's just funny because at work I have to write my initials on my work, and my initials now are EW, so it says ew. So I thought that was kind of funny. But anyway, I would love to hear if you're transgender, how, like if you're not doing the 30-day challenge thing, I would still like to hear how you got your name. Or if you have a birth name, let me know if you like it. Or if you could change it to anything, what you would change it to. So make sure to comment, subscribe, like, share. I definitely want to get this video out there as much as possible. So, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your evening, and I'll be back tomorrow for day 3 of the 30-day trans challenge. Thank you guys for watching.